What's going on, guys? Magnolia Mo here, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to take a look at the Apos X Audio-Technica ATH-R70x refined headphones. And as usual, I want to give a shout out to Apos Audio for sending me the Apos X community exclusives, such as the Audio-Technica ATH-R70x refined headphone, the Gremlin that I recently reviewed. The Apos X Audio-Technica ATH-R70x refined headphones are a limited edition product, right? They've only made about 1,000, and the last 250 just shipped out recently in May. What I love about this headphone is the black and the gold configuration. They are very comfortable, to wear for long periods of time. It's very simple in design, and it's very light, and I believe it's because of this. The top right here is just a grill, very lightweight, and this is basically what's going to adjust to your head. And then these two flaps right here, these will also give you comfort. The actual earpiece kind of swivels just a little bit to adjust to your ear. When I put them on, they go comfortably. As you can see, the top part is what's holding it in place, and it's padded, and they are so comfortable. There's no stress. I can wear this, and I have, while doing my listening sessions, wore it for long periods of time. No fatigue, no head fatigue, there's no neck fatigue with this. The ATH-R70x Refine is a refined version of the original ATH-R70x from Audio-Technica, right? So that's why it is an Apos exclusive. Developed internally by Audio-Technica engineers, the thicker velour pads that you see right here enhance both comfort and the original ATH-R70x sound signature, basically allowing you to listen to these headphones for long periods of time. And I have to say, having listened to them for a number of hours, they do offer a warmer and deeper and fuller sound. The sound stage is wide. I'm going to talk about that more, but I really love the engineering on these headphones and the comfort that they have made #1 priority, in addition to the sound quality. As I mentioned, Apos Audio collaborated with Audio-Technica on the R70x Refined headphones, and they offer them at a $50 less price point than the original. So let's talk about the pricing. It is $299 US without any of the add-ons, right? So you could get the Mod Mic Uni 2 or the Mod Mic USB 2 or the Mod Mic Wireless to give you a good gaming headphone with a mic. So without the add-ons, it's $299, and then you can add the Magia cables to this. I got the Balance 4-pin XLR from Apos. If you add the Magia cables, the price will jump to $435. And then obviously you can add on DACs and amps and earbuds for extra cost, right? So just the basic price is $299. From a specification standpoint, these are open back headphones. Diameter, the driver diameter is 45 millimeter. The frequency response is 5 hertz to 40,000 hertz. Maximum input power is 1000 milliwatts at 1 kilohertz. Sensitivity is 98 dB. And the impedance is 478 ohms. The weight, as I mentioned, is only 7.4 ounce without the cable and the connectors. The dimensions are 175 millimeters in width, 95 millimeters in depth, and 215 millimeters in height. What's included in the box are these. You get the headphone carrying case, nice velvet case. And you also have the stock headphone connector, which is very easy to plug in. So I'm going to try to attempt to show you here. You just turn and you're good. And the way the cable is designed, it doesn't really matter which end, if you're going left or right. I don't know how they do it, but I tested it. You get the signal for the correct channel either way. So it comes with the stock cable, obviously with the headphone, and that is basically it for specifications and an overview of the headphone. How does it sound? Let's find out. So as usual, I'm going to start with Norah Jones' Come Away With Me. What I'm listening for here is the brush on the snare as it goes from left, middle, and then to the right. And then the bass, right, that should be well rounded throughout the song. I'm going to actually listen to it via the FiiO K11, using it as a DAC and a preamp going into the Gremlin Tube headphone amplifier using the core tubes on the Gremlin. All right, so let's go. So left, center, and it fades. So it fades. There's a good amount of depth. You got your two guitars, the rhythm guitars on your left and right, and her voice is right there, up front actually. And the bass is well rounded. The piano is floating between the left and the right. Very good sound field. And again, these are so light. What I'm going to do now is, instead of using the Gremlin as the headphone amp, I'm going to use the FiiO K11 as the DAC and as the headphone amp. And I'm using the balance 4.4 millimeter output. I'm going to adjust the volume a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start again. Now, instead of the warm, tube sound, what I'm expecting here is a solid state sound, right? Which is going to be a little bit more on the brighter side, not as warm, but I want to understand the imaging again, okay? So let's start. More forward. The brush on the snare was actually more present with the K11. The cymbals are actually more vibrant. So like I said, it's brighter, but the power is there. The piano, again, as I mentioned, it's actually more vibrant in via the K11. It's brighter, but I can tell you, I'm gonna get tired listening to this sort of brightness, and that's just me, right? You may prefer that sound. So they're both equally good. Yeah. So the impressive part here is the headphones. They are, again, as I mentioned, they're very light, not fatiguing, from my head standpoint and my ears. It's the quality of the music, right? So if I don't like bright sound signatures. I like more laid back, on the warmer side. So obviously I preferred the Gremlin, but as I mentioned, it depends on your preference. You could prefer the Gremlin, or you could prefer the K11 sound. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the sound, the output from these headphones is pretty nice. It's the sound staging is awesome. Let me now switch to the XDUOO XA2. As I mentioned, I have already tried the pre-box S2, and that thing failed, right? Because it didn't have the power. So you need a good solid state, or a good, a powerful tube amp, headphone amp like the Gremlin to drive these headphones. The K11 did not have any issues driving these. It's got the power that's necessary. So now we're going to switch to the XDUOO. I want to know how this one performs. Same track. Switch it right here. This is more laid back, more neutral. The brush on the snare wasn't as vivid as it went across. The bass is still well rounded. Her voice is present, center. Yeah, so this is neutral. This is not as fatiguing to me. It's just naturally balanced sound via the XDUOO XA02 using the Saber DACs. Okay, so between the three, obviously the R70X Refine is the star, of this particular demo, right? Because it can take a tube amp, it can take an R2R DAC, which is on the brighter side, and then the XDUOO, the XA02, which is more on the neutral side, and basically present the sound stage to you depending on the sound signature or the DAC that you're using, right? So in all three cases, this pretty much let me hear the differences, which means that these headphones, will essentially output the sound depending on what your source components are. I prefer the sound of the Gremlin, which is more on the analog side, just a little bit warmer, but still with enough detail. So let's listen to something that's more on the upbeat side. Okay, here we go. Tennis Court from Lord. This is going to be XDUOO, then I'm going to go back to the Gremlin and the FiiO K11. Wow. Tennis Court. It's 192 kilohertz, 24-bit. The bass is very good. Again, the sound stage is expansive. Stereo imaging is awesome. And now let's switch to the FiiO K11 being used as a DAC and a headphone amp. Same track, same volume. Whoa. This is so much more forward. And the bass is just wow. On this one, I prefer the K11 because this is more of a studio recording. The bass is just a lot more powerful on the K11. So now let's go to the Gremlin. Yeah, the bass is not as deep as the FiiO K11, but it's more balanced, more relaxed. The Gremlin is. Actually, I get more of a sound stage, a better sound stage, because the highs are not in my face. So it depends, like I said, on the type of music you're gonna listen to, right? So this one for Lord, Tennis Court, the FiiO K11 just knocked it out of the ballpark, right? Because the sound was just there, right? Meaning it's the bass is powerful, the highs are more vibrant, your overall sound presentation is just expanded. Compared to the XDUOO, it was just laid back. It was good, huh? Yeah, me. Just, it was nothing special to listen to. Then I switched to the Gremlin. Gremlin kind of took the edge off of the highs, and that bass, it made it just more relaxed at the end of the day, right? But not with the same powerful bass that I was hearing on the FiiO K11. So I guess on this track, the K11 gets the nod from me over the Gremlin and the XDUOO. So these headphones, these are awesome, right? They are very good to listen to. As I mentioned, they are going to give you the sound depending on your source components, right? Whether you like a brighter sounding DAC, a laid back DAC, or just neutral DAC that can give you the expansive sound field, you're gonna get that from these headphones. From an overall sound standpoint, the sound off of the R70X refined headphone is well balanced. It's got good amounts of bass. It's open. You can get the highs that you want. You can get the bass that you want depending on your source components. And it does a great job of actually giving you a sense of where the various instruments are. Alright guys, I hope you found this video useful. As usual, please like, subscribe, and share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.